you mentioned the running game. Najee Harris entering year 3 still has yet to have a season where he's averaged more than 4 yards per carry. And so I look at it from this standpoint too. I think going into last year, his foot injury was worse than he or the Steelers let on publicly. And so if you look at the front half of the year compared to the back half of the year after the bye week, he was almost a full yard per carry better than he was in the front half of the season. Now, he has to, like, for me, it's like the two measures of success if he wants to get paid in a few years, because Steelers have 2 more years left on his rookie deal, and then a 5th-year option, if they want to pick that up, would be this. Play in all 17 regular season games and then surpass that 4-yard per carry mark, because the reason you spend a first-round pick on Najee Harris a few seasons back is when you were dead last in the league in rushing, but you've been in the bottom 5 in the NFL in rushing now for like the past 5-6 seasons. Steelers haven't even been formidable in this facet of offense since Le'Veon Bell. And so if you want to help out Kenny Pickett, what better way to do that to establish the running game? And with Najee Harris specifically, I get that he's not going to be a speed demon, but every now and then they're going to need him to rip off a 40 or 50-yard run. I Bleav he doesn't have a carry in the NFL beyond 40 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And I know for a fact he didn't in the 2022 season. What better way to help out your rushing average is to say, hey, put your foot in the ground and run north and south. I think he did that on the back half of last season, but on the front half, he was dancing a little bit too much. Again, I thought he probably was injured and didn't let people know that publicly, but the Steelers have to get the running game going, and it's not flashy to talk about to say, let's establish the running game. Let's win the turnover battle. Let's play stout defense. But that can win you a lot of games. And when you're talking about when the margins are razor thin in the NFL compared to the college game, that's one facet to help the Steelers achieve that, of to get better on offense. Najee Harrison, especially Chris, long-term, if he wants to get paid, if he wants to stay in the Steelers uniform, it's a big season for him in year 3.
It's a huge season. I mean, we just saw Saquon Barkley just got a deal finally after that. And that's for Saquon Barkley. What are we talking about here? Like, there's running backs are having a hard time getting paid in the NFL. It is what it is. And Najee Harris has also been very vocal about him not liking how that has gone. And so it is going to be a bit of a clash, I think, when his 5th-year option is up for consideration. And the Steelers have to make that call. But I'll say this about Najee. One thing, he definitely was hurt. Like, I remember seeing him in training camp, and when he got hurt last year, and then he was trying to be every much the leader that he wanted to be in training camp, but he couldn't because he just wasn't 100%. And then you're right, he wasn't hitting the holes the right way. But also, I think on top of having a steel plate in his shoe, which is what I was right there when he told us that, like after like the midway point of the season. But also, he didn't trust his offensive line, and rightfully so.
Yeah, why would he, Chris? I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's a reason why you get a lot of fresh blood in Isaac Seumalo, why you draft Broderick Jones. But please continue, because that is another point of all this. Is not to put all of the blame on Najee Harris, but look, I don't think it's a hyperbole to say that the Steelers had a bottom half of the offensive line, and honestly, probably one of the 10 worst in the NFL. But that's just my 2 cents worth.
I agree, but I also think that offensive line came together a good bit in the last like 6 to 8 weeks of the season, and then when they did, you saw Najee Harris be like, all right, I got holes now. And that was something he even kind of pointed out. He was like, y'all watching the games? Like, I'm getting hit in 2 yards in the backfield on average. Like, he wasn't getting as any opportunities. Najee Harris, and you brought up, like, he doesn't have top end speed, and I agree, but neither did Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell only had a couple like really long runs in his career. And when he did, it was because the offensive line the Steelers had back then was just killing people with Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro and Marcus Gilbert, Ramon Foster, Villanueva, Kelvin Beachum. They had guys on guys. They're 6th and 7th offensive linemen. We're going in free agency for like $50 million contracts, like Chris Hubbard and Kelvin Beachum. So I think it was a different time, but Najee Harris can very much be the type of back that Le'Veon Bell was. Even I think in the receiving game, I think Najee Harris, that's a skill